What's more valuable, $500,000 in cash or a meal seasoned with the wisdom of a luminary? This is the tantalizing question that sparked the birth of a groundbreaking show, Lunch with the Luminary.
Welcome to Lunch with a Luminary, our Brown Box edition here live at InvestFest 2024. And when I tell you that there are a myriad of luminaries at our disposal and we're bringing them right to you, we've got some great luminaries. So join me today for this amazing empanada-driven lunch in the box discussion with the amazing Dr. Hadiyah-Nicole Green. Now, she is only the second African-American woman to actually get a PhD in physics. I love being around people who are smarter than me. And I can't wait to talk to you about her amazing discoveries in cancer. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I just got to InvestFest, and to have you welcome me and have this.
Don't say welcome. Tell them
you pulled me in, literally like off the side of the road to do this interview, and I'm so humbled and honored. It's such a pleasure to meet you in person.
Absolutely.
And I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Well, I love it when a good plan comes together because one of our moderators in Business Boost Society, the community leader, Brandy on our team, had just posted you in our EdTech community, like, hey, you want to see this? Look at this amazing work. And I know her. So for you to come by, I don't think anything happens by accident.
You're right, because Brandy recognized me. She was like, oh my God, you're Dr. Hadiyah. And I'm like, I was trying to tip in. I'm so glad that she did recognize me.
Absolutely. So, it's interesting because people jokingly say, I'm busy. And then someone will say, well, you're not too busy. What are you doing? Discovering a cure for cancer? You can actually say, yeah, I'm a little busy. So I'm laughing about it, but we have so many people that we know.
Yes.
Who are impacted by cancer.
Nearly 10 million a year.
And how many times do you hear yet someone else who's getting a biopsy done, waiting for their results, and you literally say cancer?
Right.
Oh,
right.
So talk to us a little bit about just what brought you to where we are today, discovering a cure in mice.
So technically, the technology, I don't refer to it as a cure because it's controversial. I know in lay terms we use that, but as a scientist, it's technically a medical device. But just to cut to the point, the technology I developed has demonstrated complete elimination of human cancer in laboratory mice after one 10-minute treatment in just 15 days.
Let me tell you something. If I have cancer and you eliminate it in me, I'm going to call it a cure. I mean, we can be scientific, but my mom is a survivor from breast cancer.
Bless her.
My sister
Bless her.
Is a survivor from colon cancer.
And
I had colonoscopies from in my 20s as a result of that.
Yes, same here.
Yeah.
And bless them. That's the point of the work that I'm doing, is to create more survivors. My loved ones weren't as fortunate. My aunt and uncle who raised me both had horrible experiences with cancer. My aunt said that she would rather die than experience the side effects of chemo and radiation. I was her primary caregiver the last 3 months of her life. And she went from being the cooker of Christmas and Thanksgiving dinner, the prayer warrior, the glue that held our family together, to not being able to walk, to not being able to talk, right? When all she could do was moan and grunt.
Wow.
It was so devastating. We literally haven't had Christmas or Thanksgiving dinner together as a family in the 21 years since she's passed. So she was everyone's big mama, but she was the only mom I knew, right? She raised me from age 4. And her husband, my uncle, he opted in for chemo and radiation, but he lost all of his hair, all of his eyebrows, all of his eyelashes. His skin looked like it had been barbecued. It was horrific, horrific.
My mom stopped. So
really,
she had the tamoxifen and chemo and radiation, and she's from the South.
Yes.
She said her father told her that if you're taking medicine that's supposed to make you feel better and it starts to make you feel worse, stop taking it.
Yes.
So we were afraid. By the grace of God, she's been in remission for a number of years, but
that's a blessing.
Completely relate.
Yes. And so part of my journey is I've dedicated the last 21 years of my life to this fight so we can stop losing, right? And this has really been my life's work, my life's ministry. So I had a bachelor's in physics.
Okay.
And I graduated with a 4.0 GPA.
Okay. Now, did people ask you, what are you going to do with a bachelor's in physics?
No.
Or did you have a plan?
No, they ask me now, what do you do with a PhD in physics? And so I tell them about the cancer treatment now.
Right.
So, but part of it, at the time,
you got to take us back.
I know, I'm
because
telling
we have
you.
youth listening.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So at the time, so for the youth, my first semester freshman year, I changed from a computer science major to an engineering, electrical engineering major to a math major, and then I became a physics major because the lady who was working on her PhD at the time when I was a freshman, she became the 50th black woman to get her PhD in physics, and I became number 77.
Wow.
Right? And so she stopped me coming out of a calculus class my freshman year, pulled me to the side, and started grilling me questions like, who are you? I've never seen you before. You must be pretty smart if you're taking calculus as a freshman. And I'm like, well, I don't know how smart I am. I have really good study habits, and I can focus for a long time. So she was like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I'm not quite sure. I've changed my major a few times. I just really want to do something that'll help people, but I'm really good at math. So she said, if you major in physics, you can go do any of the other disciplines, but if you major in those other disciplines, you won't be able to come back into physics, but you can always go into math or engineering or any tech, right? So, and she was like, let me get my thoughts together. So I said, you know, everybody says physics is hard. And she said, those people weren't taking calculus as a freshman. Don't let other people define what's hard for you, because it may not be. So after that, I changed my major to physics. I interned that summer at NASA. I was calibrating lasers for the International Space Station. I was planning on following in Aisha Field's footsteps, and I was pursuing a career to make internet faster and cable faster, right? And so I interned at University of Rochester Institute of Optics for 2 summers, and when I graduated, the summer, like the day after I graduated, is when my aunt announced that she had cancer. 3 months later, she passed. I was her primary caregiver that summer. Then a couple of months later, my uncle was diagnosed. I stopped graduate school, went home to take care of him. So this is how my origin story began, right? And so I prayed, I got a divine download, and I went on a mission. So when I applied to University of Alabama at Birmingham, it was strategic because they had a physics PhD program and a comprehensive cancer center. And there was a guy who was an expert in lasers in the physics program. So I sought him out, Dr. Sergey Mirov, and asked him if he would be my mentor. And I had a full scholarship for graduate school. I was on a presidential scholarship from undergrad, and I had a full scholarship from the American Association for the Advancement of Science gave me a full scholarship for my PhD.
As you should have.
And so I ended up putting together a customized curriculum and research journey. My advisor told me most students work on my projects because I'm paying for them, but because you have your own money and this idea you want to pursue, I'll give you the rope to do it.
Now, you told him what idea you had?
I did.
Okay.
I did. And he was like, it's high risk, but yet potential high reward.
Okay.
So have at it. It's your life, right?
Right.
And so I went and found a mentor at the Comprehensive Cancer Center at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. And that's how this whole journey got started. So I literally started trying to bring to fruition this download I had.
So now you still didn't share, did the download evolve? Like, what was the download at the time?
So what evolved was my confidence, right? Because the whole time when you're in your PhD program, you have to pitch what you plan to do, and you have to propose it to your dissertation committee, and they have to sign off on it. And everybody said what my download was would not necessarily work. So the download was to use so let me tell you the inspiration. was that if a satellite in outer space can tell whether a dime on the ground is face up or face down, and a cell phone could target one cell phone even in another country in a stadium full of people, why can't we treat cancer at the site of the tumor without all of these side effects, right? So at the time, I had all this background in fiber optics and lasers, and I developed the technology, nanotechnology, which are really tiny particles.
Okay.
And I used that to target the tumor, right? And I shine a laser, and the laser by itself doesn't kill anything. The nanoparticles by themselves, they also don't kill anything. It's only when the laser shines on the nanoparticles that they get hot enough to kill the cancer cells.
And it takes away that whole thing of killing the good cells with the bad
Exactly.
cells. Okay,
Because
gotcha.
it's directed, right?
Gotcha.
It's very localized, very targeted, just at the site of the tumor and the tumor margin, right? And so the first time it worked, my mentor was like, what happened? And I was like, well, you said only measure the tumor every couple of days. That's what I did. And he was like, I don't believe this. If this happened this fast, you need to take pictures every day.
Right.
And so I had to go back and do it again. And then he kept grilling me, so we ended up getting publication-worthy data.
Yeah.
And I published it in a physics-based journal. And he told me that this treatment that doesn't have a drug would never see the light of day. Go back and incorporate a drug.
That's crazy. Right?
So in order to finish my PhD, I had to develop not one but two cancer treatments. The second one had the drug incorporated. It doesn't even work as well. It still works better than most chemotherapy and radiation. But the point is, he was trying to tell me about overall global strategy.
But is that the commercial side of the business? Because we talk a lot around the business behind the drug business as opposed to focusing on the health.
So part of my personal mission, because of how I was introduced to this field, this is not about profit for me. It's about people and the human side of healthcare, not the business side of healthcare, right? And so one of the things that's important for me to get out is that I'm not in competition with the pharmaceutical industry. There are nearly 10 million people a year who die from cancer, even with the best of cancer care, because chemotherapy and radiation and surgery doesn't work on everyone.
Right.
Not even all the natural remedies and Dr. Sebi, that doesn't work for everyone. So being able to take something that could potentially be salvage care,
Right.
and just all I want to do,
However it's going to be introduced.
yes, and all I really want to do is try to save some of the 10 million people who are dying every year from cancer and keep it affordable and accessible for all.
So I am not in the medical field.
Yes.
What is next? After you go from that phase to showing that you can replicate it, what's next to get into like my aunt?
Right. Thank you. This is a very important question. So the process that I'm in now is raising the money to pay for all the requirements of the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, to conduct an official, legal, human clinical trial.
Okay.
Right? And so some people think I can go from what I showed in mice and immediately take them in the trunk, or, you know, pop something out the back of my trunk or go to the back of my lab, and it doesn't work like that in the United States.
Okay, so how does it work? Educate us.
So there's a formal application process that the FDA requires. Any medical device, any drug has to go through this process so that things can be safe, so that we won't have the Tuskegee experiment, so we don't have the Henrietta Lacks, right? So these are the rules of the game. And in order for us to get adopted by the American Medical Association, covered by insurance companies, Medicaid and Medicare, we have to go through the FDA to get the proper authorization in order to conduct an official human study.
And that makes sense to have those controls. That's why we trust the FDA to theoretically to bring us what we need.
Exactly.
But my thing is, why don't you have people knocking down your door to support
this is something that sometimes I tiptoe around how I say it because I'm not a complainer, right? The woman who raised me, Orly Smith, she was like, if you want something done, just do it, right? Don't complain. We don't have that luxury. You have to be 10 times better than everyone else, right? And so the humbling part about this is I have been told more times than I can count, if I were a white male, I would have more funding than I know what to do with. The other part of that is there is a disparity for African American scientists, male or female, in this country. One of my mentors, the guy who invented the super soaker,
Okay.
right? Lonnie Johnson. I talked with him about his experience trying to get funding for the super soaker. He was ripped off for 30 years in
But
court.
this is not a super soaker. This is like,
But this is the journey of black scientists,
right.
right? And so in order to overcome the hurdle of funding disparities with federal grants and private investor dollars, I did create a shortcut so the world can help me move faster into human trials.
So what's that shortcut?
My 501c3 nonprofit, the Ora Lee Smith Cancer Research Foundation. Literally, anyone can go to oralee.org, that's spelled ORALEE.org, right now, and fund my research. It's completely accessible for people to fund, and we have, and I'm so grateful, we've raised $3 million in just crowdfunding, small donations that average $25 a person.
And is there research plan articulated on the website so that people
Yes.
understand where their dollars are going?
Yes,
Okay.
and so here is the thing that sets us apart from other cancer nonprofits. We are not raising money for cancer awareness. We are not giving rides to cancer patients. And I'm not saying that that's not important. That is important. Patient support groups
Absolutely.
are extremely important. We are not raising money to come up with the statistics that African American women are more likely to die from cancer than any other race. The same with African Americans. We're not raising money for statistics. We are raising money specifically to take the cancer treatment that I developed that's demonstrating complete elimination in mice
And make it available.
and make it available to.
What is it going to take? What's your target amount that you're looking to raise to get this done?
So to get started, we need to raise the first $10 million. We've already raised $3 million with crowdfunding, averaging $25 a gift. In order to get, and that's a lot of,
That is a lot of
people
investing, yeah.
who believe in me, who are donating, right? So we have national partnerships with multiple fraternities and sororities in the D9, and we have small business partners. We accept crypto, stocks, card
There are
donations.
multiple ways
There are
to donate.
multiple ways to
Okay.
donate, right?
And then to get to the larger goal of
The larger
finishing it,
goal
what's the amount?
to get finished with all 3 phases of clinical trials is $100 million. And I know people think that's a lot, but the top 3 cancer charities in the United States raise over $1 billion a year with no cancer cures to show for it, no cancer treatments to show for it. And they have a lot of programs and a lot of overhead. We don't use our donations for anything other than research. There's no salaries being paid through the Orly. We are an entirely volunteer-run organization. Because it's my pet peeve that there's so much overhead in these organizations, so if you give $1, like 5 cents goes to the cause. That bothers me. When people want and need a cure for cancer and the money that's being donated to other charities, only 10 or 30% of that money goes to finding research to develop new
But
treatments.
It's part of the concern by why you're not getting the energy behind it, because you don't have medication that a pharmaceutical company can make money off of behind it.
But there isn't a pharmaceutical company that's blocking me. If I had the $10 million today, I can do the things that the FDA has already communicated that I need to do, and I was.
In partnership with whom? You can do that with do you have labs
So let me give some of the background. So I have lab space at the Atlanta VA as part of an award that I received from the Department of Veteran Affairs called a Merit Award. It's really like getting a Grammy or an Oscar for scientists. It's a huge deal. And they're still doing the research, but we're confirming. We believe I'm the first African American female in the country to receive to earn a merit award from the Department of Veteran Affairs. So I have a lab, I have a team, I have clinical partners, surgeons, and oncologists who are lined up ready to go. Literally, the missing piece is the funding, right? So I've been getting my ducks in the row. I brought that 4.0 student from undergrad to this whole experience, right? So I'm just like, put me in the game, coach. Yeah, I'm ready to go. The I's are dotted. The FDA has actually already reviewed the protocol, and they're waiting for me to submit my formal application. And I
and get
need
it
to
going.
fund it. Yeah, they're ready.
So if there's any business that we need to boost, it's
Yes.
your business
Yes.
and your organization.
Yes.
So this is just the beginning. We are going to
Thank
continue
you.
this conversation. You and I are going to work in the background and
Yes.
figure this out.
Yes.
And then we're going to have a part 2 to this entertainment.
I'm loving
Yeah,
it.
let's do it.
Yes, thank
And let's
you.
eat up. Let's go
okay,
have a tea.
thank you.